it's Jonathan Bocher here.
And Colin Daniel, and we're from riffninja.com, if you haven't guessed by now.
Yeah.
Well, this is a thing on substitution, and you heard it right at the beginning, what we're up to. And boy, there's a lot of variations on this. It can really spice up a song. If you're limited, then you can use the chords. If you're already starting with what we call a shuffle pattern, which Jonathan will fill you in a second, then you can use that and use the chords against it. Kind of flips around either way. Jonathan, show them what you're doing.
Yeah. So basically, we're both working off the same chord progression here. We're using A, D, and E, and Colin was just playing straight up open chords, nothing fancy there. And if you look at the root notes of the chords that he was using, he was starting on an A, right? 5th string open. Well, what I was doing was basically just creating a power chord. Okay, so with my index finger here, 2nd fret of the 4th string, and just playing those two strings, the 4th string and the 5th string. Okay? At the same time. Now, that's the A is the 1 and the E is the 5, and so you're creating a power chord. You know, you might be familiar with that.
Yeah, that's just an open.
Elsewhere,
that's
yeah.
just
it's just an open version of a power chord.
Yeah.
If you don't see the pattern connection right away there, but it's just an open version of a power chord. And we're doing that on all 3 chords, and then we're shifting to the D on the 4th string, and then same story there, and then the E, same story again, right? Now the real fun part comes in when you add the major 6th. Because remember I said we got 1, 5, and then there's 6. If you walk up the scale there.
Something that always confuses students is that let them know that like that A is always there. It's the root note.
Yeah.
And that matches each of the chords. Like when I'm playing an A, D, and E, the root notes of an A chord is the same root as what you're playing, right? So
exactly.
When you play the root note with the 5th, the power chord, and then you add the major 6, make sure you still include the root note in on it because that's your drone note.
Yeah. So you got that good kind of drone sound going on, right? So, I mean, if you're struggling to get started with it, why don't you even just start playing like that? Make sure you can get your 2 strings sounding. I mean, you're not trying to hit all the strings. You're just going for those 2 strings, okay? And in this case, the 4th and the 5th string, because we're coming off the A. And then once you kind of get that kind of going, then with your 3rd finger, because it's good to line up a finger per fret, right? And we've got our index finger here on the 2nd fret. Then we start adding on the 3rd finger, and that's coming in here on the 4th fret of the 4th string, okay? So on the same string that your index finger's on. And again, you're still just working off those 2 strings.
Hear that, how it blends with the chord?
Yeah, sounds pretty cool. So then, all you got to do is shift that exact pattern, everything you're doing in that pattern, you just shift it to another root note. And as Colin was saying, you know, the D that he's playing, the root note is there on the 4th string. And so we're going to use that as our root note as well. And again, create our power chord off there and add our major 6. Sounds pretty cool. And
you know, that's not saying that you couldn't play those chords elsewhere either.
Yeah.
You know, we were just making it easy for you because we figured you might to get a taste of it. I mean, I could play an A, D, and E elsewhere. I could play an A, D, and E here too,
yeah.
And that would work. It doesn't.
Or I could play the boogie thing up there.
That's right, and I could play the open chords. So it's another option. We just made it as easy as possible to grab onto this idea, but don't limit yourself. Because if Jonathan's playing an A, D, and E, wherever I can find an A, D, and E,
exactly,
there'll be different blends of it, but it's still the same notes.
Yeah.
Those are
one thing you could try doing is if you got like 4 verses in the song or something like that, you know, play it in one position for one verse, then head on over somewhere else to change it up a little bit in the second verse. You're still gonna have the basic sound because you're using the same chords, but it's going to change the frequencies that are used a little bit and just kind of give the song a little bit more character.
Yeah, a little more color, a little more texture.
Yeah.
And then if you're bored playing the same chords, you won't be bored long, because as you're playing one set of chords, you go, where am I going to go for the next verse or chorus?
Gives you something to think about.
Yeah, other than that cool-looking blonde that's up front.
Back on topic here.
Oh, yeah, all right.
So then the last chord that we had is the E, and there we just put our index finger here on the B, which is on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and we use those 2 strings there, and then we add in our major 6 pattern. So should we go through it?
Yeah, I think we should. This is a 12 bar.
Yeah.
12 bars, like we're going to do 4 bars of the A, 2 bars of the D change, back to 2 bars of the A, and 2 bars of the E, and then 2 bars of A, and all together, if you had grade 4 math, that makes 11. No, 12.
So if you got your guitar, and you can do grade 4 math, why don't you play along?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever you do, Jonathan, don't end on that major 6.
Yeah.
That's a bad dog.
Sounds bad.
Ouch. That's what Les Paul called a clam.
Yeah.
Don't step on the clam.
Yeah.
So you get that?
So one quickie thing here for you is if you're kind of good with your fingerboard and you know where things are, why don't you just shift those root notes, and instead of using your A down here, if you got a bit of a stretch on your pinky there too.
There's your D.
Yeah.
Yeah. Notice how Jonathan was using the 5th and the 4th string.
A, D, and E right there. Exactly the same pattern.
1, 4, and 5, man.
Yeah, the only difference was that now I was using my index finger on the root note instead of on the 5th. So you need to use your 3rd finger for the 5th, and then grab that major 6 with your pinky.
And if you don't have a pinky because you lost it in some bad accident, well,
Don't
I guess
try
go
that
back.
pattern.
Yeah.
There's other ones you can do.
Go back to the open one.
That's right.
All right, I think we've covered that pretty good.
Yeah, Colin and I are just about to shoot a lesson here for the Riff Ninja Academy, where we're going to dig into this topic in much more detail. So if you play with 2 guitars fairly often, and you're looking for something else that you can do to add a little bit of spice to things so you're not both playing the same thing, head on over to riffninja.com, check it out. We've got a 3-day free trial, no credit cards needed, nothing like that. It's just pure fun. And yeah, you can look up our lesson, and we'll see you inside.
Goodbye for now.